Being a programmer can be so challenging, especially when you're dealing with errors. Well, you're in luck because today is day 16 of the Python programming challenge. And today I will be talking about the common Python errors that you would encounter on your journey and ways you can overcome them. If that sounds like something you're interested in, welcome to day 16 of the Python programming challenge, Python errors. To day 16 of the 100-day programming challenge. And today we'll be talking about errors, common errors. Errors are one of the most frustrating things that you would come in contact during your programming journey. Errors would frustrate you, but you do not have to give up. So in this video, I will talk about the common errors that you're likely to face and what those errors are and how you can solve them. That's that. So the first one we'll talk about is the syntax error. These are errors that are found in the structure of code, because in Python and in other programming language, they are how the code should be written. Either we're using a semicolon, a comma. I'm just listing quotation marks, but they should be written correctly in a particular way. So if you have incorrect punctuation, incorrect indentation, incorrect, you would get an error. So syntax error occurs when the Python interpreter encounters a statement that violates the rules of programming language. For example, you see we have 5 is greater than 2. Yes, that is true. But then we do not have the colon at the end of the statement. So when we run this, we get an error. We get what? A syntax error, because this does not follow the rules of Python language. There should be, you see it's put in there, it's expected that there should be a colon at the end of the if statement. So now if that colon is added to the end, you see, we do not get an error. We are able to proceed to the next line of code and print. Now it works. So that's an example of syntax error. If you are writing long codes and you get a syntax error, that means you are not following the rules of Python language. So you have to check through to see where the colon is missing, where the bracket is missing. Let's try something. Let me remove the bracket at the end here. Oh, the colon is still there, so it's still staying the colon. See, we get a syntax error because there should be a bracket at the end of it. So we have incomplete input. That is example of a syntax error. Next, we have indentation error. In Python, we always do indentation. For example, say the if statement, and then after the colon, the next statement, you see we have 4 spaces before we write the next one. So when your code are not properly indented, you would get an error. And when do you use indentation? In loops, in functions, or in conditional statement. That's your while loop, your if statement, and then your function. So see, this is not indented. When you run this, you get that an indentation is expected in line 2 because you define the function in line 2. So the next one should be indented. And then when you indent it, you see you get no error. We're not printing hello because we didn't call the function. There'll be a video about the importance of calling function soon. Check it out. The next error that we have is name error. Name error is when you want to use a variable that you have not yet defined. So see here, we want to print out age, but what is age? Where is age? And who is age? So when you run this, you see that age is not defined because you can't just say print age without specifying what age is. That's why you see in the next one, we have age is equal to 25. And then when we say print age, then it knows what age is, and then it can print it. Another error that we have is the type error. The type error happens when an operation or function is applied to an object of an inappropriate type. So see, this is about concatenation. So we specified our age, and then we want to print that, oh, you are a certain age. But you can only concatenate between strings. If you want to concatenate between string and integer, it is not possible. You can only concatenate string. So what you would do in this case is to convert this to a string, and then you can then concatenate it. Because if you run this, you get the error that you can only concatenate string and not integer. So then if I convert my age, which is an integer, if I convert this to a string by putting string and putting the variable name in the bracket, I've converted it into a string, then I can concatenate it. Next, we have value error. Value error is when a function receives an argument of the right type or but the inappropriate value. So see, this is a string because it's in quotes, and then we want to convert it to an integer, but hello is not an integer, can never be an integer because it's words, not numbers. So then that's when we get a value error, that it's an invalid literal for int with base 10 hello. So the appropriate would be to replace the letters to numbers, and then we can convert it. But see, it is number inside quotes, so it is a string. So anything can be inside quotes, and it can be, and that is a string. But having letters inside quotes and trying to convert it to integer would not work because it is not numbers. But having numbers inside quotes and converting it to integers would work because numbers can be integers and be strings. So when we print it, we get no problem. It runs fine. Number 6 error is the index error. Index errors occurs when you're trying to access an index that is out of range in list and tuple. We have a video on tuple. You should check it out. So see, we have 3 numbers inside the list, and they have index 0, index 1, and index 2. So now see, I want to extract the item in index 5. But there is no index 5, we only have 0, 1, 2. And that raises an index error. So when you want to extract, make sure you're extracting a valid index. So we want to extract index 2, 0, 1, 2. And then we get 3. The 7th error we're looking at is key error. Key error is when you're trying to access a dictionary with a key that doesn't exist. So say we have this dictionary, we have name and age, and then you want to get address, but there's no address in the dictionary, so it cannot find the key. So you see we get key, error, address, because there's no address in the dictionary, in this dictionary, not the normal dictionary. So then you have to check if the key exists before accessing it. So we have our dictionary, the name and the age, and then we want to get the address. But if it's not there, we have to print address not found. So this is a way to prevent it from breaking and getting like a key error. Instead, it prints out address is not found. Number 8, we have the attribute error. I know there are a lot of errors. So attribute error occurs when you try to access an attribute or a method that doesn't exist on an object. So back to our list, we have 1, 2, 3, and then we want to append, list. We're able to append to the list. There's examples of functions that you can perform on a list. You can append, you can delete, you can pop, you can extend, etc. But you cannot push. You cannot push to a list. So then you get an error because list object has no attribute push. So see, instead we have append, and then we can append to a list, and then there is no error. The 9th error that we have is the zero division error, when you're trying to divide by 0, which is not allowed in mathematics. So result equals to 10 over 0, you get your zero division error because that's not allowed in mathematics. What you can do is that you should make sure that the divisor is not 0 before dividing it. So instead of the thing breaking and giving you this error, it then prints out the message. That's a way to like prevent your function from breaking. You print out a message instead that, oh, we're having a problem with zero division error. We cannot divide by zero. So the way to do all that is to use the try and accept method. So try and accept method prevents your program from crashing due to the exception. So you can undo this in the try and accept block. And we already made a video about this on day 10. So check it out. Summary of the common errors. We've talked about the syntax error when there's missing punctuations and indentation errors when your code is not properly indented. Name error when you are calling a variable but you did not create the variable so it cannot find it, so you get a name error. Type error when you're trying to convert you're trying to concatenate strings with an integer, which is not possible. Value error, you're trying to pass an argument with a correct type but invalid value. And index error, you're trying to access an index that does not exist. Key error, you're trying to get the dictionary key, but that doesn't exist as well. Attribute error, you're trying to use an attribute that doesn't exist. You cannot push in a list, so you get an error. And zero division error, you cannot divide by zero, even in mathematics. So, as usual, this will be in the GitHub page. Thank you so much for watching that video. I hope you were able to learn something from it. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And don't forget to also try the practice questions that are in the Jupyter notebook and put your solutions in the comment section. Let's build a community together. As always, the link to that notebook is in the description below. And I'll see you tomorrow.